In our top story tonight, the jobs of teachers across Barbados appear to be secure at the start of the new school term. That's the report CBC News has received from at least 4 schools so far. Shane Seeley has the story.
At the start of this new school term, there's less concern about the students and more worries about the teachers as mass layoffs loom in the public service and fears raised among temporary teachers about their job security. Here at Parkinson School, teachers are already stretched to meet the demand of the student population.
I do not see Parkinson as one of those schools that are overstaffed. Indeed, I think we are understaffed. But we could make adjustments to where we go, because a school like ours with 940 plus students, with 61 teachers, when we compare to other schools with the same number that have 68 and stuff, we try to make do. Over at Graydon Seeley Secondary, Principal Matthew Farley says he has received no information from the Ministry of Education to suggest that teachers will be going home. He's upbeat and believes he will retain all of his teachers.
I started today with the full complement of teachers, and they're all assigned to the classes and are working. If we get information at some subsequent point, we will have to deal with that. But right now we are in high spirits.
Things were quiet at Lawrence Tigay Primary School. Principal Beverly Paris confirmed that all teachers, including some who were on leave, are back on the job.
Quite relaxed. We would have had our staff meeting yesterday, and all of my teachers would have, temporary and otherwise, would have returned. There would have been a few who would have been on various leaves, and they have returned as well. We planned and everybody's on board, and I would have walked around just after prayers, so we've gone to every classroom, and teachers are on board. They're teaching because they would have done their planning yesterday. So everybody's on board and just doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Queen's College has the biggest population of the schools I visited, with well over 1,000 students. Principal Dr. David Brown says it's already a struggle to cope with the numbers.
The retrenchment of 2 or 3 teachers at the school, I don't know how we get it run, because we have one teacher who was sick last term and a small department of 3, and the other 2 had to take up the slack, and they were literally dropping down from the stress they were. So I want to say that it was very comforting to hear that there will be no retrenchment, but at the same time, at the school, with the numbers and what we want to achieve in terms of our objectives and such, like, it would be difficult if there is a retrenchment in any form or fashion.
Now here at Queen's College, like all the other schools I visited, about 1/3 of teachers are listed as temporary, so you would understand why the teachers were so uneasy in the lead up to the term. But now the schools are very quiet, the teachers and the students are hard at work, and according to the principals, the teachers are now confident that they will remain employed for the remainder of the year. I'm Shane Seeley for CBC News.
Thanks, Shane. Government will ensure that no 2 breadwinners in the same house are laid off once public sector retrenchments begin. This from Finance Minister Chris Sinclair during a press conference at government headquarters yesterday. He says arrangements, including counseling, are to be put in place to help those sent home to deal with what will be a difficult and strenuous situation.
Not only psychological counseling, but financial counseling, because there may be some people who will receive separation packages that are quite generous. And you don't want a situation where they go and and as we would say, knock out the money and then have difficulties getting a job in the near future. So we will have all of that in place, and we have also issued an edict to ensure that where departments have to release workers, that they do a clear analysis of all the persons involved to ensure that that situation that you described does not develop, where 2 breadwinners in the same household get sent home, or somebody who is clearly in a debilitated position be the person to suffer.
The finance minister says the public service has to be restructured, and 1992 was the perfect opportunity to do so. Instead, he says, in the following years, numbers were increased and several statutory bodies created. Now, regarding the suggestion to cut salaries, the minister says salaries are protected by the Constitution, and in any case, the level of the cut needed would be far more than any of the proposals made.
These are difficult and painful decisions. But the need to protect our dollar leaves the government with few options at this time. In keeping with our commitments under the protocol of the social partnership and mindful of good industrial relations practice, government will continue to dialogue and consult our partners in the labor movement as we seek credible solutions to the challenges we face and explore feasible alternatives to the measures we have announced. But time is of the essence in this regard, and decisions must be made now.
Mr. Sinclair also gave an update on the Four Seasons Hotel project.
There is a proposal for an investor to purchase the property, for that investor to then lease it back to government. We believe that that proposal went to the court. The court accepted it, but asked for additional things to be done. Those things are currently being done. We are negotiating the proposal to see the terms and conditions for the sale and lease back. It came to the Ministry of Finance, it came to me, in fact, and we did not support the terms. We felt the terms were far too generous to the person who was investing. We've asked for a renegotiation of those terms.
Opposition leader Mia Mottley says Finance Minister Chris Sinclair has again put the country on pause by not indicating the full scale of the economic situation. Ms. Mottley says Prime Minister Fendel Stewart remains quiet while the financial situation remains the same.
There is still no clear program of restructuring. We continue to face the issue of the spectacle of having to print money. Our reserves continue to have an underlying downward trend. And perhaps even more worrisome, workers today will continue to be more trepidatious of their future after hearing him, particularly since the start of this massive retrenchment program that got off to an unlawful start on the 31st of December with the drainage unit.
And CBC took to the streets to get some feedback on what Barbadians thought about yesterday's press conference by the Finance Minister and the pending layoffs of government workers. There were mixed views regarding whether the government achieved its objective.
He hasn't said anything new that no one didn't know anything about, because we all knew the International Monetary Fund was in here having a consultation with the government, and it was inevitable that he had to lay off people from the government because the government is heavily overstaffed.
There's enough of them that has played the fool in government, and they believe that the ones that know went into government, they deserve the chance to stick in the government. Those that getting ready to come home should be able to, give it themselves, because they're coming home very shortly.
All he has to do is explain to the people what's going on. Just explain to people what's going on. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of intelligent people in Barbados who knows and can understand the English language and pretty much comprehend what he's trying to say.
I understand what he said, but I still got confidence in the government.
In my view, if they knew that layoffs were coming, what they should have done is that the things that he said that he was going to put in place, he should have already taken the initiative and put them in place beforehand, that the people won't have to wait until after the fact then to get the help.
JetBlue Airways has escalated Barbados to its #1 priority following a weekend of cancelled flights which left more than 500 passengers stranded. And today, JetBlue's overseas offices met to discuss the possibility of bringing in an additional aircraft to ease the situation. Michelle Arthur has the story.
It was a line of anxious faces at the Grantley Adams International Airport on Tuesday as dozens of JetBlue passengers checked in for Flight 662. 3 JetBlue flights were recently cancelled due to devastating weather conditions in some parts of the U.S. Those traveling were a bit concerned about more cancelled flights.
JetBlue canceling those flights yesterday is going to create a lot of traffic in terms of trying to get back. So I'm very worried that this flight isn't going to actually work out, or that other people who have been canceled on are going to get to one before us. So we're kind of just crossing our fingers.
If I have this day, I have no choice, but I have to go back to work tomorrow, so I'm hoping to get out.
And passengers are expecting some type of compensation if their flight is cancelled.
Accommodation as soon as possible.
Is that your only concern?
Yeah, basically. I've been here relaxing, so it is what it is.
But CBC understands that JetBlue has already moved to provide accommodation for some passengers stuck in Barbados. And an additional airplane for those who have been stranded over the weekend is apparently on the cards. Corporate Communications Specialist at the Grantley Adams International Airport, Keith Goddard, says both JetBlue and American Airlines have dealt with the weather situation admirably.
They kept us informed along the way in terms of the airport, so that any information we had to get to the public was able to be given in a precise time and a good time for passengers to be able to make certain decisions. So I think it worked good for us in terms of that relationship that we have with the two airlines.
Most passengers were confident about the flight that eventually left on time at 3:11.
It's a little inconvenient because I've got a job to go back to, but you can't really control these things. I mean, it's a natural event that we really don't have control of. So, and it's beautiful here, so it's a good place to be stranded.
Others were more worried about the weather conditions back home.
Keep warm, stay warm, and try not to get sick.
Michelle Arthur, CBC News.
A local agriculture official says the impact of stray dogs on that sector is as bad as predial larceny. Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agriculture Society, James Paul, made the comment as over 100 turkeys were slaughtered by dogs at a farm in St. George. Sean Farrell has more.
According to the co-owner of Golden Ridge Farms, Adrian Norton, the dogs attacked and killed the birds sometime Monday night.
When we walked around the pen, we saw that the wire had been bitten and dog prints all over the ground. Dogs obviously got into the pen. They killed 130 turkeys and they bit another 40. So it was rather devastating.
The operators of Golden Ridge Farms estimate the losses at around $25,000. They say the slaughter of the animals will affect their ability to supply local supermarkets.
We're the only people who do turkeys all year round. We supply the supermarkets with fresh turkeys weekly, and so we'll have some for another couple of weeks, but then we'll have to take a break because we wouldn't have turkeys until we get another supply that we can raise.
Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agriculture Society, James Paul, says the incident comes at a bad time for the sector.
It's not only happening in relation to, as you can see, poultry. It is happening. Sheep, a large amount of sheep in this country is being lost by attacks from wild dogs. And when it's happening, it is really gruesome. But a lot of farmers do not report it. You have neighbors who have dogs. Okay, these dogs bring no economic benefit to Barbados. I am not ashamed to tell anybody that. If you want to keep a dog, fine and well, but you should not keep it. And then that same animal that brings no economic benefit to you or anybody else around you seeks to destroy the livelihood of other people.
Mr. Paul says the BAS is going to engage the relevant authorities in government to address the issue.
The BAS will be asking for a meeting with those civil servants who deal with this particular issue to see what can be done, and we would expect some action coming forward very, very soon, okay, to tackle this issue. We need to see something in place that somebody will say, this is how we will approach it. And the other thing too, I want to appeal, we are supposed to have dogs that basically are supposed to be licensed in this country. We like to make laws, but the fact of the matter is that the laws will not be enforced or cannot be enforced by the persons who make them. The people who have to enforce the laws are the civil servants out there who go out there every day and see dogs unlicensed.
Meanwhile, the owners of the St. George farm told reporters the police were called and the animal control unit notified about the incident. Lawmen reportedly visited surrounding areas to warn residents not to allow their dogs to stray, while officials of the animal control unit have promised to visit tomorrow to search for roaming animals. Sean Farrell, CBC News.
Thanks, Sean. Vincentians across the diaspora, including those living in Barbados, made sure 2014 got off to a good start for their countrymen who were affected by the Christmas Eve trough system. Kishmar Sinjis checked in on relief efforts by the St. Vincent and Grenadines Association of Barbados at the Clement Payne Cultural Center this morning.
Vincentians who called Barbados home did not hesitate when their country needed assistance following the devastating December 24th trough system. As soon as an appeal was made, assistance was rendered.
Vincentians throughout the diaspora has been responding very favorable. We want to thank the corporate Barbados for their tremendous support, for without them, these would not be a success. So we want to thank the Barbados public for the support in which they have been given to us.
Over the past 2 weeks, several items were collected to assist affected by sanctions, and today they were shipped to the capital, Kingstown.
Most of what we have here would be food, clothing, we have stationaries, we got water, we have pampers, we have medical kit, we have shoes, and those are most of the items which we are sending at this present moment.
Collection efforts continue here at the Clement Payne Cultural Center in Crumpton Street in historic Bridgetown. Residents of Barbados are urged to continue to give generously.
We will continue the appeal to ask for building materials. So we again will extend to our corporate Barbados asking for supplies such as plywood, galvanized nails, paint, whatever they can afford, cement. We do need all this stuff to help in rebuilding.
From historic Bridgetown, Kishmar Senjis, CBC News.
Kishmar, thanks. Well, the head of the Men's Educational and Support Association is responding to rumors suggesting that the body is receiving major financial support from government, while other similar organizations are being left to fend for themselves. Chairman of MESA, Ralph Boyce, has come out strongly against the charge, saying that is clearly not the case.
You hear a rumor out there that the government has provided an office for MESA which they're financed, which is totally wrong, totally out of order. But if people repeat that often enough, people begin to believe it. MESA's members pay the membership dues. The government, and the doc will probably make a note of that, gives us successive governments a total of $1,000 a year, not a month, a year. It does not even cover postage.
Mr. Boyce made the revelation during a service hosted by NCPAD over the weekend to mark the start of Drug Awareness Month. Now, this story just in, government is tonight saying the window is open for the possibility of a reduction in the number of public sector jobs being cut. Now, initially, 3,000 job cuts were first proposed by Finance Minister Chris Sinclair late last year. Following talks with the two unions at government headquarters, Minister Sinclair said some of the proposals submitted by the NUPW are feasible.
There are some very interesting proposals on there. Some of them we definitely can adopt. Some of them we were already thinking about even before they proposed them, so they're not new. Others would have challenges and collectively may not get us where we want to go and would require additional effort.
BWU boss Sir Roy Trotman was pleased with the outcome of this evening's talks. He says the union is soon to make public some of its proposals to government. Overall, he says talks went well and he's hopeful progress will be made.
Among the various things we are looking at is possibly earlier retirement for a number of volunteers who may wish to leave the system. We are looking at enhancing a retirement age for some of them, with packaging that would help to make that more desirable. We have given consideration to other proposals which were submitted by the NUPW and which have been examined by the Minister of Finance and his team, which they commented on this afternoon.